let's talk about your teaching background. What actually motivated you to pursue a career in teaching?
What motivated me to pursue a career in teaching, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think thank you for your question. And I think there are several reasons. The first one is that from quite an early age, I find myself have a preference for learning English, and I love English not just as a subject, but as a language. Because it opened doors for me to explore a lot of things. So yes, I think the first thing is that I have a natural, way I say, preferences for the language. And then another reason for me is that it's very personal. But in from my family background, my father came from a very disadvantaged background, and it was language learning, like English learning, that changed his life and helped him to like lift his family out of poverty. So it's kind of motivated me to um, make English learning more accessible to more young people in Vietnam. So yeah, I think there are the two main reasons why I decided to dedicate my career to teaching English.
Okay. Um, so I'd like to go a bit deeper, um, and ask you about your teaching background in general. So could you please describe um, in what context did you have you mainly taught English, like age, like your student's age, and probably is it like a school or something else?
Thank you. I just graduated from my BA degree in August, and I have had nearly 3 years working as part-time teachers in Vietnam. I have been working with a lot of different groups of like English learners. The youngest age is 7, and the oldest is around 14. Because at that time, I worked mostly with English language centers. So yeah, we have a diverse groups of students. So mostly I spend time helping students to prepare for the IELTS test, the English standardized testing, and I also help like kids to study English for their let's say national for our national English program schools. So yeah,
Mhm.
let's see if I can share more. I think because during my past 3 years working as part-time teachers, I've been also like doing my study as a pre-service teachers, so I kind of had the mindset to experience as much as possible, to work with as many group of students as possible, to see the differences, to gain more insights from different groups. So I think the experience is like not very extensive, but I think it's quite diverse. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now I'd like to move to discussing your teacher identity. So, what values or traits do you believe define your role in the classroom?
It's a really interesting question. So it's just like it's a bit off topic, but actually for my BA thesis, I did like research on the topic of AI and teacher identity. So I did read a lot like research and materials on teacher identity. Right now, to be honest, I think my teacher identity is still evolving. Um, but for me, if I had to find maybe 2 or 3 words to describe my identity right now, the first one is evolving, because I believe like as a teacher or as a person, identity is constantly evolving to adapt to our circumstances, and in our cases, often to our students and to our teaching environment. The first one is evolving. The second one I think is let me see. For me, I want to use the word empowering. Those it's kind of hard to illustrate in like exact um, to exemplify by some specific instances. But my belief is that when we teach English or teach any kind of subject, especially with foreign languages, I want to not only engage students in the subject, but also to empower them with the knowledge and with the language and with all the opportunities that the language can bring to them.
Okay, thank you
Yes.
very much. And um, are there any personal background experiences that influenced your teaching?
The devil, but right now, like top of my mind, the first thing that came to my mind is like is my during volunteer like working as a volunteer teacher 2 years ago. So at that time I worked with primary kids from disadvantaged backgrounds in Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. And one of my students at that time he was 8 only. He was very intelligent, very hardworking, but he performed not really well at school. And then when after some time working with him, I realized there's several problems. The first one is that he didn't really believe in himself, and he always thought that he could not learn English well because he feel like he did not have the natural talent for it. And the second thing is that kind of belief was not from himself, but is from like all the people around him, his teacher at school, his family, like everyone around him. Keep telling him like very negative things about his ability. So yeah, so key takeaway for me from the experiences. First thing is that as a teacher, I think it's one of our job to remind our students of their ability and that they can do anything and they can learn anything. Like kind of like instill a grow mindset in our students. And second, it drives me. It helped me realize how much of an impact a teacher can have on a student. For example, in my case, my student from a very young age, he had internalized all kind of very negative belief about himself because of what his teachers or like other adults in his life have been telling him. And so yeah, as a teacher, we should be really mindful and should be really careful with everything we said and done to our students. Yeah, two main key takeaway is definitely a growth mindset that we should help our students to nurture, and second, we should be responsible and mindful of our action in classroom and towards our students. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And this actually leads our discussion to actually talking about teaching philosophy. So, in a few words or sentences, could you please tell me what is your core teaching philosophy? What do you bring in your teaching, and what do you think, what do you actually consider as paramount to bring in your lessons, in your daily practices, or your curriculum, or whatever you do?
So I think my teaching philosophy have like several key points. The first one is that I really want to make English learning and like English as accessible and affordable as possible. So it's one of the main mission I want to achieve during my teaching career is to like give many people the opportunity, the access to quality language education. Because right now in Vietnam, in my country, English language like learning is still let's say quite a privilege, and not everybody can afford quality language education. So yeah, that's I think one of the first, let's say, my learning teaching philosophy. The second one is that I wish to teach English and to help my students learn English not just as a subject but as a language, and you know as a as a living language and as something that can help them to learn and explore more about the world, open the doors for them to, let's say, enhance their knowledge. Because to me, the learning of the language is not just about the language itself, but also about other opportunities and also about self discovery. So I want to encourage all these things during my process of teaching the language to my students.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we're moving on to we're moving on discussing teacher development. So has teacher development experiences or have teacher development experiences somehow shaped or influenced what you currently do as a teacher?
Well, yeah, of course. I think all the teacher development programs, like workshops, seminars, or conferences I've been to, definitely uh, help impact, like let's say, change my teaching philosophies, my knowledge about teaching, my teaching approaches a lot. The first thing is that it helped me to like get exposed to different approaches, different kind of school of thought when it comes to
Mhm.
teaching. And especially with conferences, you get to learn a lot about like the recent update research on language teaching so that you can apply it into your actual practices. But the next thing for me is it's very important that you actually get the opportunity to communicate with a larger community of, let's say, fellow teachers, maybe pre-service teachers or maybe in-service teachers. And I did learn a lot from my fellow teachers when it comes to their teaching experiences, their insights from the actual practices. And yes, I definitely appreciate all the opportunity to participate in teacher development programs because for me, I think one of the best way personally for me to learn as a teacher is to learn from our fellows, community of practice. Yeah.
And what is the value of teacher development for you personally?
Yeah, I think for me, teacher development is definitely an integral part of my career as a teacher. There are reasons for that. Firstly, as a person, or like not just in teaching, but in any profession you're working on, it's very important that you keep a spirit of, let's say, uh, lifelong learning, like constantly updating yourself and becoming a better version of yourself in the profession you're working on. But the second thing it's really worth mentioning is that we're living in a world that is constantly changing with a lot of like new technologies coming in every single day. So it's really important that teacher be updated and be educated to adapt better to the ever changing world like this one. And the final thing, I think it is for me, my students is like a big, my students are a big source of motivation for me because my students are constantly learning and like yeah, every class of student I have been teaching, like, how can I say, um, I think I feel kind of motivated to upgrade myself every single day so that I can deliver better content, better lessons to my students because I see they are also working very hard and as their teachers, there's no reason for us not to work hard and to be a better teachers for them.
Okay, okay. So and the last question, what are your expectations from attending the upcoming conference in Edinburgh?
Expectations, right? Well, I'm really excited. First thing, as I said, I believe it's a wonderful chance for us to learn from, let's say, the research in the field, but so from our fellow teachers, researchers, and let's say one of the main difficulty and challenge for young teacher, like early career teachers like me, is that how we can incorporate what we learned at school in our teaching train teacher training into like actual practices. And so I hope that especially through the experience in our conference, I can learn more about how we can actually apply all the theories, all the knowledge we've learned at university into our actual practices and to bring about the best results for our students. And yeah, the second thing I'm really excited about is again the chance to meet and to talk, to learn from a lot of amazing teachers around the world in the conference. And the last thing I think is quite personal, but right now I'm doing research on AI and teacher development. I really want to see how new technologies can help with the development of teacher so yeah, I hope that in the upcoming conference, I can learn more about the new technologies and how we can like maximize their use in teacher training and teacher development.
Welcome back, Hang. I hope you're well.
Yes, thank you.
So let's start by let me ask you first about your research, which you mentioned in the first interview. So how has the conference had an impact on your knowledge about AI and teacher development?
Yes, thank you for your question. So, and during our first interview, we obviously had some discussion on my research topic. And last time I was working on AI impact on teacher identity of like pre-service teachers.
Mhm.
And I think the first thing first about I think like a large part of our conference was on that topic about AI. And I think there
Yeah,
was a lot of discussion
a
on the
lot, a lot. Yeah,
AI, right? In language
yeah.
teaching and learning. I think it's very fascinating to me. First thing is that before coming to the conference, I didn't expect that I would like have a chance to listen to so many diverse perspectives on AI.
Mm,
I think
yeah.
some of the discussion was like even kind of like a very engaging debate with
Hmm.
different like perspectives on AI in education. And I
Yeah.
think it made me realize how, let's say, divisive AI can be when we talk
Yeah.
about role in education. But one point that I really love that we also like discuss it in our pre-conference event by the
Hmm.
TDC, I think it was a comment by actually Cecilia, also our coordinator, that
Hmm.
the teacher who can be replaced by technology should be, and I think she summed up everything so nicely
Hmm.
in that sentence. Like,
Mm.
AI is gonna be there, and we have been talking a lot about all the roles and all the applications of AI and also its impact. But from our perspective as teachers, I don't think we will be replaced if
Hmm.
we can keep updating ourselves, right? But
Yeah.
we can be replaced if, we let ourselves lag behind. So yeah, I think
Mm.
that's a great insight that I have drawn from
Hmm.
the conference. About teacher development, I think to be honest, I'm very early in my career.
Sure. Yeah.
Before coming to the conference, I don't think I did give a lot of thought to the topic of teacher development yet. But then
Hmm.
when I had the chance to engage in our conference, in the pre-conference event, where
Hmm.
we had the chance to listen to like people who had been involved in teacher development, I think for several decades, right? A very, very long
Hmm.
time, like maybe 40
Yeah.
years. It was inspiring to me to see
Hmm.
like people who had been very dedicated to teacher development, and I can actually see it right now, like feel it and see it as a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like very inspiring for a young teacher
Yeah.
like me
Hmm.
to know that yeah, okay, teacher development is like it's a journey, it's a journey that's
Absolutely.
long but can be very exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's an excellent perspective to get. And I think the earlier we realize that, the healthier it is for us, right?
That's true,
Yeah.
that's true.
Well, sort of connected to that then. So how would you, what impact did the conference have on your have on your sort of teaching philosophy?
Teaching philosophy.
Mm,
Wow. Actually, during our first conversation with Dita,
hmm
when he asked me about my teaching philosophy, I was quite,
hmm
confused because
Yeah,
I didn't have much experience in teaching, to be honest.
yeah,
I can say with confidence
mm,
that I have any kind of like
yeah,
deep teaching philosophy. So at
hmm
that time, it took me quite a long time to come up with an answer to Dita.
hmm
I think after the conference, um, the most amazing things about the
hmm
conference to me
hmm
uh, was the opportunity to talk to engage with so many different sharing from teachers at
hmm
all stage of life. And that way I see like at first when I view philosophy, I thought it should be something fixed and there's just one philosophy for your
yeah,
whole teaching career. But
no,
then after talking to our teachers like from around the world and like with
hmm
very different and diverse experience, I realized that teaching philosophy is actually it should be involving, right?
hmm
And it can be an elective approach of
hmm
different ideas and philosophies. For
hmm
example, I'm really impressed with some talk on transformative learning and also experiential learning.
hmm
And yes, actually, how to apply these philosophies into teachings, it really depends a lot on the teachers ourselves, but and also our students. But I think the idea that there are many different philosophies out there, and we have the right to choose we whatever is suitable for us and suitable for our students
hmm
is very meaningful to me. Yes.
yeah, yeah, and of course we change over time,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So,
true.
and our students change as well, right? We don't always teach
Yes.
necessarily the same type of people forever.
Mm.
So it makes sense that this is a an evolving area. Yeah. Uh, and following on from that, then you also spoke about your teacher identity. Um, and
Yeah.
I know again, on obviously, I understand that you're early in your career, so these things
Yeah.
are in their early stages. But what impact did the conference have on your sense of self as a teacher, your teacher identity?
Oh wow. So issue identity is actually so part of my research. I
Yeah.
gave a talk like in a forum about issue identity.
hmm
So yeah, definitely it's something I care deeply about
Mm,
because at the end of the day I believe that we teach who we are. But I think before coming to the conference, I kind of thought of teacher identity into separate kind of part. The first one is professional identity, the second one is personal identity. And I think I paid more attention to the professional identity. But it's quite surprising that
mm,
after the conference, I think the conference experience actually give me more insight into my personal identity
hmm
because I think it's my first time ever in my life that I had
hmm
the chance to interact with teacher from so many different backgrounds, from different countries, from just like very different educational backgrounds also. And
hmm
then when we had the chance to connect and talk to each other, it gave me a chance to reflect on my personal identity first. Like
Yeah.
I'm a non-native English speaker.
hmm
I'm also from a background like my background in Vietnam as a student in a public education in Vietnam and
hmm
all these very personal identity. And I think this is one of my first time that I could see how these personal identities,
hmm
sub-identities, can have a very huge impact on my professional identity as a teacher.
hmm
So yeah, I think it's quite a surprising insight for me
Yeah.
because normally we talk more about professional identity, what kind of teacher we should be, what how are we viewing ourselves as a teacher. But now I also had the chance to see myself firstly as a person first and how that kind of personal
Mm,
identity can have an
hmm
impact. Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah. Thank you. So it was very nice to see you again. Congratulations again on your scholarship,
Thank you
and
so much.
thank you for catching up with us today.
Yes, it was a wonderful opportunity to be part of IATFL this year.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for the chance.